In this video help, I'm going to start by showing you the main menu. The main menu is an overview of the asset management application and what files and icons are used. The icons that you see here are video help icons for the different screens. You will find additional ones on some of the other screens, like in the asset management, and it'll say below them video help. If you click on the icon, it will run the video that you're viewing right now. If you click on this icon, it'll take you to the actual screens that you want to view. Now let's look at the application as an overview. The application was designed for people that are using equipment either in their own corporation and managing the assets, or they could be using them as an asset that they're distributing to other companies, or both, using equipment and assets on their own company with other companies. This application includes an asset management screen where you document the actual new assets or the current assets in inventory. There's an asset listing, a booking report by date as far as if they were booked to be used or sent to someone or somewhere. That would show the asset being used. There's a calendar that goes to the main calendar from this screen, which is the calendar that was introduced on the first video, and it's also the first screen that opens when you open the application. There's an equipment assignment, which is actually a tab on the assignment management screen, and that tab is used to assign equipment that the current client or current asset information is provided with. So if that equipment is assigned to somebody or another company, that customer and information for that customer being outside or inside your own company would be annotated in the assignment. There's a listing that shows all the equipment with a listing of the equipment and where they're currently assigned, or if they're not assigned. You saw some of this in the appointment screen on the calendar. The equipment report is a more elaborate report that shows you more information about where the equipment is and when it was dispatched and when it's going to be returned. The same thing occurs on all the asset assignments here. There's an equipment portal, which is a screen where if you're doing equipment for service and the service for that equipment by the asset is done. In other words, you would look at the asset screen, that same asset would have a new screen created in the equipment portal that would cover the service maintenance, both scheduled and unscheduled, and that would be used in order to manage the information for labor and materials and what kind of tasks are being done on the equipment over a periodic basis. The next screen is the booking UDF, which is also a part of the asset management screen. And what that does is it allows you to have additional fields that were not added to the asset management screen, but would be useful where you can take a title and an input and add that into the UDF portal. The portal has an infinite number of fields and titles that you can use that will allow you to add data to the individual asset management record. That means for that particular asset, you can create additional fields that are unique to the way you use the asset. The next screen is the billing portal. Now, a billing portal is also a tab on the asset management screen. If the equipment asset has charges or other things that are being done with it as far as how it's distributed or used, you can create an invoice. Now, this is available to you. It's not required, but if you had to, say, for example, bill a customer or have internal billing within your own company where you're actually managing that asset as far as deliveries, pickups, schedulings, or just anything that has to do with that piece of equipment, you can create an invoice, and that invoice could either be internal or a company that's external to you as far as if they're using that asset. There is a billing invoice that is used in conjunction with the billing. And what that does is it allows you to create a custom invoice with your logo and address on it, and a drop down to pick the current customer for that invoice where you're going to be sending the billing. And the billing invoice is kind of unique in that it allows you to pick and choose by company name or a couple other fields or a date range in order to populate an invoice exactly the way you want to see it. It can also include as many different invoice row items as you want for an infinite number of those on each invoice. So there's no restrictions on that invoice. From the invoice itself, you would go back to the asset management screen, and there's a payment tab. There's also a billing tab where you create the field information that goes into the invoice on the billing tab on the asset management screen. The same thing goes if you take the payments for that invoice, you can put them on the payments tab of that particular tab on the next to the billing tab on the asset management screen. The next field or screen over here is the expense screen. This is used where you have indirect costs that are not direct to a customer and you're not billing a customer. They can be overhead expenses. They can be anything that you want to cover as far as that asset is concerned for a given month's period. You can take either the asset, and you can include other expenses, like if you're doing postage or you're doing mileage or you're doing anything that's an overhead expense that cannot be charged to a client, you can track all that information. The next screen is a standalone screen, also like the expenses. And what this is it tracks employee information. First of all, you set up all the employees that may be used in the equipment portal for doing service. This is labor, where you're using the labor, and you can have it either unloaded or loaded. If you know what that means, basically one has just the bare labor cost, which is the actual labor that you're charging internally, or you can have a customer based where you bill it and load it with whatever overhead cost you want to put on that labor, and then you bill it in the invoice. If you're going to do it one way or the other, you can have actually two. You can have one without loaded and one with loaded, as long as you mark those as separate records as an employee record, and you can pick between the two. If you need more help on how to understand how to use this, or the expenses, or the payment and billing system, you can contact me at ontargetsolutions.biz. That's www.ontargetsolutions.biz. Go to the frequently asked questions, the FAQs, on the drop-down menu, and there in that location you can enter a question and use your email, and I'll get back to you. Or you can contact me directly at vclement@gmail.com. That concludes this video. If you have any questions about using this screen, please contact me at the FAQ question. Thank you.